pigs.
Welcome.
Back here on another Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate y'all being here. You can follow me and Jess there on Instagram, as well as the official Waterbox Instagram, which is just Waterbox Aquariums. So.
Welcome on. And we are actually giving away some microfiber towels today. So 2 sets. And you can see we have the usual white ones. And we now have, too short to reach, black. These are very sleek looking. Great for cleaning the outside of the glass of the water box, keeping it nice and shiny.
Yeah, it's a handy tool to have on hand just to keep the glass clean, wipe down your sump, whatever you want to do. So
we're giving away 2 sets today. These are also available on the website, but you have to be active in the comments. Ask questions. We're going to be answering those later. You know, make conversation, make friends, all of that. That is your currency to win some towels today.
Cool. We give away stuff every week, so it pays to be here live, you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
If you haven't already, smash that like button. Helps us out tremendously. Subscribe to the channel. All those good things.
Don't want to miss it. We also have a freshwater channel, so go over there. Subscribe to that as well. Each channel we're dropping videos every Saturday on, so you don't want to miss any of that stuff coming your way. And we're talking about the Waterbox method.
Yes, which is more or less your method too.
Yeah.
The way that we keep our aquariums, specifically talking about reef aquariums today, A to Z.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things like, we go through a lot of it sometimes in our build and stuff, but you know, it's what we consider the Waterbox method. This is how I'll take care of all the tanks. This is our, you know, routine, and it equals very healthy, happy, you know, looking aquariums. So that's what's really important. And we keep it very simple. You can get real complex with stuff, or you can keep it simple and functional, and that's kind of where we aim for, is that easy to understand, easier to keep, you know, routine. And that's what we're calling the Waterbox method. Yeah,
so if you guys think about the Waterbox method, just like she said, it's the simplified method of reef keeping. It makes reef keeping easy.
Yes. So you can get way complicated. I don't like complications. So
no.
So we're going to talk about the maintenance side of it first. And, you know, this is very important for keeping a healthy, happy aquarium. And your routine is going to go and kind of break down to daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly tasks. Keep up with these. Your tank's going to be a lot cleaner and happier. So, you know, this is how we do it here.
Yeah, and we will be at some point very soon. You can always reference this video, but we will be publishing this. So if you want to, if you need like a guideline to
break it down a little bit more and kind of just give you a good idea of what you need to do for your aquarium, especially if you're like getting into one. You know, looking at what your tasks and stuff are going to be to kind of understand what you're going to be doing. So, all right, daily. Of course, you always got to look at your tank, look at your fish, your corals, inverts, for any health issues, that they, you know, aren't sick, that no one's knocked over, a snail upside down, that kind of stuff. Just a quick visual look at everybody, you know, feeding them, of course. Dosing elements, depending on what your dosing regimen is and needs. And then 2 times a week. This is kind of a guideline. A lot of times you might have to do it more. Clean your glass. Waterbox magnet. Yeah. It's a great, great tool. Keep your glass clean from any hard calcium buildup, and changing out your filter socks.
Yep. So 2 times a week, like you said, sometimes more. And I want to jump back just to the visual element. This hobby is a very visual, like visual cues are big, especially in a reef aquarium. So just looking at your aquarium is going to tell you a tremendous amount of what it needs. So
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot just day to day. I mean, just making sure your fish are active at feeding time, that everyone's eating. No, if someone's hiding at feeding time and they're usually not, that's a good clue that there's something wrong with them. They're getting picked on, something like that. Seeing that all your corals are open, keeping their color. Inverts love to knock corals over. So if they're knocked over, you need to pick them up. If a big turbo snail sitting upside down, flip him over, because he's going to get gross when he dies, and it's not going to be good. And then, you know, we recently had a show on dosing and testing. So how much you need to dose will depend, but a lot of times it will become to a daily task.
Right.
So, and then just keeping your glass and everything clean.
Yeah.
So quick stuff every day to a couple times a week, and changing your filter socks. I always say minimum once a week, but if you can do it twice a week, it's going to be a lot better, because everything that those filter socks are catching, it's not exiting your system. It still has time to break down into nutrients. So if your sock is sitting there for 1, 2, 3 weeks, you're not doing any good by just having it sit there.
May as well not have it.
It could just sit in your tank and do the same thing. So by cleaning your socks very regularly, it's going to remove that waste before it breaks down.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Weekly. One of the best things ever, clean your skimmer cup. It's gross.
Yep.
It needs to be done. Same thing, that gunk needs to come out of there. It's collecting a lot of waste product. You know, and then every 2 weeks you should test your water. And that's really a good time frame to do water changes. That can be 10 to 20% depending on what your levels are, nutrient-wise, nitrate, phosphate, and all of that. So,
yeah. So water changes is a big thing for us.
yes.
That consistent water changes, that's how we reestablish our, you know, our trace elements, et cetera, keep the water, the nutrient levels down.
Yep.
That is a big thing that we're a huge proponent of is water changes. There's a lot of different methods to do it, but that's every 2 weeks seems to work pretty well.
It is, and like a small nano type tank, if you got like a 10 or 20 gallon cube, something along that, with like some soft, easy corals, you know, small weekly water changes work too.
Yeah.
But you know, and that kind of keeps you from having to really do much in the far way of dosing. But a good general rule, 10 to 20%, base it upon what your nitrate levels are. You know, if you need extra water changes more frequently, usually it means you're overfeeding, you're not cleaning the tank well enough, socks, that kind of stuff. And then for testing, if you've got corals, kind of covered it in our video recently, you might have to test more regularly in the beginning, but you should get to kind of like an every 2 week schedule as everything settles in.
Right. Excellent. I do want to encourage you guys too, while we're here, if you have questions, post them below. If you have questions about the Waterbox method, also post them below.
We'll be
get to
taking
them here
questions
soon.
later, and we're also giving away the towel. So, all right. So we got monthly. Change carbon. So this takes out discoloration, organics, chemical warfare from corals. I consider it to be a very important element of running in your system. It does not need to be more frequent than once a month, but you really don't want to let it go much further than that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sponges and pads and stuff in your filtration. These get overlooked a lot. These are little, in between baffles, in between filter chambers, these guys catch a lot of gunk, and if you're not cleaning them, they're just a big waste product magnet.
It's as bad as having a filter sock that's not being changed
Yeah,
out.
consider like a filter sock that you just forget about and it just sits in there for months. Not a good deal.
Yeah.
And then also changing phosphate media. It is not always required to run phosphate media, but you'll find if you've got LPS or SBS, a lot of times you're going to need to keep them a little bit in a lower range.
Yeah.
And phosphate media is necessary. So back to the sponge thing though. So if you've got it can be baffle sponges or like all-in-ones in the different chambers. When you clean them, I generally say do it at time of water change and rinse them in the bucket of water you've taken out. Because when those things are left in there and they're in there for a few months over time, they do build up good bacteria. So you don't want to, especially in a smaller closed system, a cube or an all-in-one, take it and put it through chlorine tap water and kill off a lot of bacteria that may actually be helping to stabilize and keep your tank. So take it in your old water change water, rinse it pretty good, put it back in there. And you can even do it every water change too, but I say minimum once a month because things do get trapped in there and it just kind of gets gunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
The not fun stuff, quarterly. It is important though. So you want to take pumps, reactors, power heads, anything motorized like that, and you do want to clean them, and that includes inside the motor with the impeller. There's going to be a lot of buildup, which actually slows down the flow of those equipment.
Yeah.
So it does make a big difference. Also, every couple months, do your water change out of the sump. Vacuum out detritus that builds up. You know, in the back chambers, you know, you do get pockets of dirt and things that build up down there, and just kind of give your sump a good cleaning. It's kind of crazy because for like your return pump, you know, you let that run for 6-8 months and you're not cleaning it, your flow cuts down drastically. When you clean it, there's this big kind of like slime gunk layer all around. I mean, power heads and stuff too, but I use return pump as the easiest one to compare. And you kick it back on, you're like, wow, you don't notice slowly over time how much that flow is reducing.
The performance, goes down.
So, you know, it's one of those things that you're going to set aside a couple extra hours, you know, with your tank maintenance that time and just take apart everything really good, clean it, you know, all that stuff.
I've seen some situations similar to that with protein skimmers where someone doesn't clean their protein skimmer. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but let's just call it a year. And so sometimes you're adjusting your skimmer over time, right?
Yeah.
So year goes by, they clean it out, and then all of a sudden the performance changes completely, and then it just goes crazy.
Yeah, because it does.
And that particular situation happened to be an external skimmer, which was a disaster.
Oh yeah, no.
So
that's
you want to make
very popular.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to. That's just one of the reasons why it's important to keep those clean. You want them at the optimal performance, so that when you do, swap them out, nothing bad happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things like too. I think over time when people are like, they can't get their overflow box adjusted, or there's noticing changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They don't look at the fact that their flow from the return pump or their power heads is slowed down. You start to get algae buildup and that kind of stuff. So it's one of those just preventative, routine maintenance things to go in there. As needed to wipe down your sump. Just take apart everything, kind of get it cleaned. The sump cleaning time is a great time to just all out wipe down everything in there, get it cleaned up.
Full detail.
You get a lot of sponges that build up and stuff in the sump, so keep up with it, and it won't cause bad things to happen over time.
Right.
So there's a lot more little things you could probably add to that, but I think that's really the basics, and it's not necessarily time consuming if you kind of do them regularly, and it prevents your water quality and things from going to a point that you have to do extra maintenance to keep it back up.
Exactly, and it's just following just follow the schedule. I mean, keep an Excel spreadsheet, keep a calendar, and just try to stay consistent, because that's how you're going to find the most success, is with consistency. So.
Absolutely. So, I see a lot of good questions coming in here, so we'll definitely get some of those as we go. The other one, so you've got the maintenance down, you're keeping the water quality good, you're changing your socks, you're cleaning the glass, tank looks great. The other important thing is, where do you keep your parameters?
Right.
And now, this is just my feelings on it. There is a million ways and different levels that you could go to that people have success with. So don't come at me, So it does vary, but this is where I generally try to keep our tanks based upon what they are within them. And there's not a huge amount of fluctuations. A lot of it does depend on alkalinity and also your nitrate and phosphate, which is allowable.
Right.
So soft corals, if you have a just soft coral tank, they can have a pretty wide range of levels. They don't take calcium and magnesium for building block skeleton, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So that can actually sit a little bit lower. So ALK, 8 to 10 is an acceptable range. Consistency is really the only thing that you need there. Calcium can be low and magnesium can be in the lower ranges you see there, because they're not using it.
Right.
The only thing you really benefit from having it on a little bit higher side of each is the grow coralline algae.
Yeah.
And then your nitrates, I say 15 or less. If it's all soft corals, you could go higher, but I think it leads to more algae issues and stuff if you kind of go higher than that. And then phosphate, kind of 0.05 to 1. Like I said, if you can keep the algae under control, those levels can be higher, but I think that's a nice safe range for soft corals. They're very, very forgiving. You got soft corals mixed with LPS. Try and keep the alkalinity more between 8 and 9, consistent there. And you want to increase on the calcium and magnesium, because the LPS does take it up for their skeleton. So they're going to be using that as a regular basis. Nitrates going to be a little bit lower, kind of keep them 10 or less. Phosphates kind of 0.05. So you kind of, as you start getting more stony stuff, you see those acceptable levels dropping.
Right.
For the nitrate and phosphate, but the calcium and alkalinity, calcium and magnesium are increasing. For your mixed reef, kind of a little bit of everything with some SBS, almost the same as with the one before. We're going to go a little bit lower. Nitrate, 8 or less. Phosphate, around 0.05.
Yep.
And then if you go full-blown SBS, I think a little bit on the lower side of the alkalinity, 8 to 8.5 is good. It's more near natural saltwater.
Yep.
Calcium and magnesium keep on the higher end, but you want to do basically to the minimum level of nitrate and phosphate, which is 2 to 5, and then 0.02 on the phosphates. Too much phosphates on SPS is going to cause them to brown. Same with the nitrates.
Yeah.
Now, some people with SPS keep their nitrates up to 10, and that's where they find a good color. And this is where the daily evaluation of your tank comes into play. This is the only way, this is the only numbers that work.
Right.
You may find that you have a little bit of variation outside of it, and that's what works best for your particular situation. But it's a pretty good guideline. You'll see soft corals kind of do whatever. And then as you start getting more towards the SPS is when it gets much more fine-tuned and necessary to stay within those ranges.
Bit more testing, bit more dosing, you know, just making sure that you're keeping a closer eye on those parameters.
Yes, absolutely. So things to keep in mind when you start thinking about what kind of corals you want to keep in your tank too.
Right.
Because SPS will be more work. 100% will be more work. All softies will be an easy breezy. That's what our 20 cube is over there. It's all soft corals. That tank, I mean, I'm sure I could completely ignore it and it would be as happy as could be, but I still test and I still dose just to keep it within range. But it's very easy and grows really fast.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool because those are the parameters that Jess is keeping all of our aquariums here in the studio, depending on what type of aquarium it is. So if you're looking for where to keep them, I mean, that's a pretty easy answer.
It's a pretty good guideline. So, and it's the Waterbox method.
Yeah.
Works here. You've seen the update recently on all the tanks. Obviously, it works great, you know, so.
Again, if you guys have questions, post them in the comments below. We're going to do a Q&A here in just a minute. We're giving away some stuff like usual. We got the new Waterbox towels if you're just joining us. So post your questions, make friends in the comments, talk about what you're having for lunch, smash the like button. Talk about the Waterbox method. Tell us what parameters you keep in your reef tank.
Yeah, that's true.
All that good stuff. Joshua was asking, what are your thoughts on dosing reefroids? Is it worth the phosphates being raised?
It's a good food, but a lot of times I find if you're keeping up with your maintenance and you don't overfeed your fish in general, a lot of times I need phosphates. So, you know, I'll feed things like reefroids or similar coral food that's known to be high in phosphates because it's just too low. And you know, for a tank and you have absolute zero phosphates, that's not good either. You want some amount. So it really needs a basic. If you already have phosphate problems, you know, don't add to it unless you're able to control it with GFO. I change our phosphate media once a month. You know, that way you can get away with feeding heavier stuff. But you do want to have some measurable amount of phosphate.
Yeah.
Corals have to eat something, so.
It's weird. There's like this fine line. It's like you want phosphates, but you don't want
not
phosphates.
Not too many, so don't overdo it. Don't run too much GFO because then they drop all the way back down. So sometimes you really do need that extra phosphate coming from fish food and coral food.
Lacey's asking, how do you put carbon in the sump system?
Your best bet is a reactor. So we use the torque reactors here on most of our systems, and it's great because it forces a certain amount of water through. Whereas the other method is you're going to put it in a media bag, put it in between some filter chambers, in your filter sock. There's going to be a large percentage of bypass that happens there because the water is going to choose the path of least resistance always. So you're not going to get as much contact time as if you had a reactor that has a pump and it's forcing certain gallons per hour through it to be in reach. That's a little bit harder in smaller tanks to fit a reactor, but if you can, that's going to be the best way to go.
Excellent. What kind of vacuum do you use for the sump?
Shop vac.
Yeah.
Get yourself a shop vac. They are a great thing to have. If you go and make a mess and spill water, they're great to have. But they're great because they can get into filter sock holders. They can get in all the different chambers, and you just vacuum it on.
That's the reality. Everybody should own a shop vac. If you don't have a shop vac, you just gotta have one.
You can get small basic ones. You can even get tops that fit on 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
There's a lot of methods. They're not super expensive, but they're great to have.
Yeah. If you have water anywhere in your house, you gotta have a shop vac. Doesn't matter if it's a sink or an aquarium.
That's true. It is good for just generally anything.
Yeah. William's asking, do you use vinegar to clean the pumps?
Yeah, so it depends on how much buildup you have. In general, if you're cleaning out your return pump, you can take a soft toothbrush or whatever, kind of clean everything off. You don't necessarily need a vinegar soak. Now, if you have power heads that are they have tons of hair algae on them and calcium buildup and stuff like that, and you need to clean them, you can do vinegar. CJ makes a pump clean, which works really great. So it really depends on what you're trying to clean. Most things in your sump shouldn't have a huge buildup of anything where you can't just clean it with a toothbrush, something similar. Power heads are probably where you're going to need something a little bit more abrasive just to get them clean and back to looking original.
Yep. Thank you, William. George is asking, should we clean or wipe down lights? I heard something about keeping fans clean for longevity.
for sure, dust buildup.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can even see a lot of times in your lights. If you don't, you will see dust kind of build up in them. I think your best bet, you know, wipe them down. You can little keyboard sprays that kind of kick dust out. Just do that.
Yeah.
You know, and just make sure that they're not too close to the water where salt and stuff is splashing up on them. You're getting salt creep, which is going to be hard for any type of equipment or anything like that. Because I should add that to the method, or like quarterly.
Yeah. There you
or
go.
something.
James added something to the Waterbox method. Maintain your lights. James is asking, any plans for an aquascaper style dimension tank in the future? We generally like deeper tanks.
Like how deep? Like,
Yeah.
hold on, deep tall, deep wide?
I'm thinking tall is what he means.
Tall? Deep this way.
Deep.
Well, LX is 30, right? LX is 30 inches.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, you can tell I'm like, this could mean so many things. I'm thinking he's talking about a planted tank, right?
Right, probably from back to the water, the front.
Where's James?
James.
You probably mentioned the
Yeah, he said front to back.
Oh, for freshwater or saltwater?
I'm thinking freshwater. James?
James, fresh or
We're
salt?
waiting on you, sir.
Let's also know the answer. Because we have the LX model, which is 30 inches from front to back.
Yeah.
And I've seen tons of people use those for freshwater as well.
Freshwater, yeah. Planted.
Freshwater, okay. Clear Pro is 26.
Yeah, so if you go up to the Clear Pro, it does get quite a bit deeper, but I do see what he's saying. I'm looking at the Clear 4820 right now.
Yeah.
And
freshwater.
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, anything's possible. We appreciate suggestions. That's how many Waterbox products, especially the aquariums, are born.
So
is based on your suggestions.
shorter but wider.
Yeah.
So because the 5 and 6 foot Pro are 26 inches, which is pretty
Yeah.
good.
Chris
All right.
Mayer is saying, I've never used a gate valve in a setup before. Does that need regular maintenance as well?
Not really. I mean, if you keep your water and everything clean, I don't know. I think that the taking apart a gate valve is more risky, of it not going back together and working as well. I generally have not done too much maintenance on a gate valve. I mean, it could probably get gunked up, but there's generally always water flowing through. Now, if you have your tank sitting for a long period of time, like
Yeah.
stagnant or in storage, I would worry about maybe the seals or something on it. But in a running system, I don't think you'd really have anything settling or sitting on it because it's always in use for flow.
Yeah.
Made me think on that one.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, the Reef and Rican's asking, do you recommend buying extra pumps to swap out while cleaning?
No, but you should have extra pumps in case your return pump dies.
Yes, absolutely.
Not power heads. I'm not too worried about power heads. Your tank can go a while without those, and we don't have to have backup. So your return pump, even if it's a cheaper version, just something that fits the same tubing size and can handle, you know, reasonably close to the same amount of flow if something happens to your main return pump. Because your main return pump goes down on a Saturday, you can't get anything shipped to you, your store doesn't have the size you need. I mean, you could be talking 4 or 5 days that you don't have a pump running your tank.
Yep.
So that definitely have a backup. That's it for questions. All right, that's some good ones.
Yeah, appreciate that. If you guys haven't already, smashed the like button, helps us out tremendously. If you're on Facebook, share the stream. If you're in any Reef Aquarium groups, share them to those. If you're not already in the Waterbox Aquariums official Facebook group, go check that out. It's a huge group of Waterbox owners, a great resource for anything related to reef keeping, freshwater aquariums.
We have quite a bit of freshwater in the group, which
Yeah.
is great. So there's been a lot of nice, beautiful setups set up on that. Always tons of saltwater, but there's been a good flux of freshwater tanks being set up, and
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
go over there. They're all awesome about answering questions, lots of good inspiration. It's a really good group over there.
Yep.
All right. We giving towels?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
We're going to give away some towels. Waterbox drum roll.
You ready? Nope, not ready. Not yet. Hold the pose, Rich. Hold the pose.
There you go.
All right.
Building the suspense.
Ready?
Gow Gow on YouTube and James Clemens on Facebook. Congratulations, you guys. Email winners@waterboxaquariums.com. They'll get you hooked up, get your stuff mailed out to you. Again, these towels are available on waterboxaquariums.com if you need, they're great. They're just great little tools to have for maintenance.
And they're super soft microfiber, which is perfect for wiping down the glass. And I like the sleekness of the black ones. I'm really
They look
happy with
really
those.
nice. Yeah. Appreciate you all being here.
So
Again.
we have a special episode coming up.
We do.
We do. He looks
Yeah.
confused.
Give me some guidance, Jess. We have a lot of special things coming up.
We
so
do.
It's hard to
We
keep
do,
track.
actually. It's going to be very busy for the next few weeks. On Friday, we will be here at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're announcing something new.
We are.
We are. So we're really excited about this. So make sure you join us.
We are? No.
Make sure you join us to find out what we have up our sleeve.
Yeah, so definitely tune in for that. You guys are going to be pretty exciting.
See you then.
See ya. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Remember, you can visit us online at waterboxaquariums.com.
We're live every Wednesday. Thanks for watching. See you next week.